Hello. So I want to put this down as a document of the changes and things that have been made since I found out that I wasn't fighting. I wasn't doing anything to get better because I thought that my life had ended. So without the fight, you just exist. I could see why so many people are miserable and lonely and why they think there's nothing in this world. I can see it because it's such a lonely, hard, cold place where there's literally nothing to look forward to. And I was just thanking God this morning for continuing to help me on this journey because I should be dead. I should be one who couldn't make it. I couldn't survive through all of the trauma, all of the really harsh instances. I should have been one who, I'm trying to find myself a comfortable spot, who gave up. But God, that's it. That's all there is to it, but God. And I've been reading in Hebrews 2 that it talks about, and it really has been a process for me to understand. And people, normal people, maybe good people, good Christians, I don't know, people who don't struggle with self-worth, they probably can get this so easily. But what I read was Jesus wanted to be at a place of intimacy with us where he could be where we are, where we hurt. And I remember so many times when I was in the midst of something absolutely awful and people couldn't relate to me because they had never experienced it. And we could only go so far in our conversation. And when I found people who knew what it was like, there was an intimacy, there was a connection, there was a relationship that only people who had been there and understood and been through that situation, you really relied on them. And Jesus didn't go through that because he was being punished or because life sucked. He chose to put on the robe of flesh and experience pain and sacrifice and hurt and betrayal and all those things so that he would be able to be with us when we were in our deepest, darkest place. It says that he made himself lower than the angels. So he had never experienced pain, conflict, hurt, sorrow, betrayal. You know, he's holy. He had everything. So he didn't know. The betrayal thing is kind of making me go, because Satan took his third of the angels and went into hell. But to have a friend and then to have them sell you so that they can kill you, he didn't have to experience any of that. He chose to, so he would know what it was like, so that he could give us grace and mercy in a whole different way. That's what it says in Hebrews 2. Not because he needed to be there when we sin. That's what I've been focusing on this whole time, was my sin and how much I suck and how much I need him because I can't do it. I can't. And that's not what he was doing at all. He wanted to be right there with me because he knew there are times when no matter how many people are around you, you're all alone and you are feeling betrayed and lonely and isolated and all those things. And he can go to the place where no one else can because he's closer than a brother. And so how many times have I felt completely abandoned? And I know God can't lie, so I'll say he never leaves me, he never forsakes me, but in my heart, I doubted it. I didn't believe it because I felt so alone. And you read a verse like that where he goes into situations. No, he didn't have his two best friends assault his daughter, but he went through situations very similar where there was such a deep hurt, deep betrayal, and such pain and misery. He doesn't have to have the exact same situation to understand that level of pain. It isn't about the experience. It's about dealing with those feelings and the pain that comes with them. He did that. He didn't have to. He didn't just, gotcha, look what just happened to you. He went into that on purpose so that he could be there for me. I wouldn't choose to walk down this path. I did not want to go down this path, and I was very adamant about trying everything I could to stay off this path, but he robed himself in flesh so that he could do this for me. That's a whole type of love that I hadn't seen. I love my kids, but that's different. And then I was thinking about how Hebrews 3 talks about how we need to hold fast to our faith. Before, this always seemed like a commandment. Stick with it. Don't you dare give up, because you suck. It's very condemning, very rules-oriented, and that's not what he says at all. He says, for 40 years in the desert, I continued to prove myself and show them after they tried me and they tested me, and yet they kept walking away. Every chance they got, they'd walk away. And what I see in that is that your relationship with God has to go deeper than the surface. It has to go deeper than just what you have in front of you. Because it mentions in Hebrews 3 about Moses. They put so much emphasis on Moses, and they're like, what about the one who created Moses? Don't put your focus on the house, but on the creator of the house. And when you're in the midst of your struggles and your trials, and you look at what you've lost and what you have in front of you, he says that's the time when you need to dig deeper and you need to build a deeper intimacy. So it's kind of like looking at the roots of a plant, and you see how complicated, intense, and how much is going on below the surface that you have no idea, because you're only looking at the surface. And if we only look at our situation over and over and over again, and we don't get it, that there's something deeper, there's deeper meaning here, well, then we're not getting what we're here for. I was just telling God this morning, just as I'm walking around and I just start talking to him as I get ready to pray and read the Bible and stuff like that, that there's purpose in this. What good can come of somebody hurting my daughter, of my best friends betraying me, pretending to be my friend so they could get to my daughter? What good comes out of that? Why? How could there be any purpose to destroying and dismantling everything? I was a strong, faithful Christian. I wasn't going anywhere. My beliefs were solid and secure. My kids were safe. What purpose comes out of that? How could any good come out of that? I will tell you, last night, as I'm watching her do things that I never thought she'd ever do in the midst of all the bad stuff last year. It looked hopeless. At times we were wondering if she was going to even make it through the night, if we were going to have to send her to a mental institution to keep her alive. And last night she was so strong and independent and bold and confident. I never thought that would have happened. A year and a half ago, I would have never been content just sitting and watching. I would have been doing, and I would have been focused on keeping everything going, and I would have exhausted myself. But now there's a lot more stillness, because there's so much time that I can't do anything. Be still and know that I am God. There's so much that I can't do, so much that's out of my control, and I can't grab it. No matter what I do, it won't make the trial come quicker. No matter what I do, it won't change the outcome. No matter what I do, if I could hound the detectives every single day, it's not going to change what happens. This process is completely out of my hands. And even afterwards, they can get out and they can go on with their merry way. It's not going to change our life. Not really. So I need to stay focused on deeper than the surface. What am I learning? What am I grabbing? There's life after trauma. It's different. It's hard, but life is hard. But what do you learn from it? If you can survive that, you can survive anything. Okay? So what do you do with that knowledge? Do you look at it as, I'm really strong. This is incredible. Look what I went through. Look what I was able to accomplish. Bring it. I'm not afraid of you, whatever it is. It's not about a confidence in self, but wow, look at what I've come through. This is incredible. If I can get through that, it's such a different way of looking at it. I've never looked at myself as a survivor, but when you start looking at life and you start, holy cow, these things should have killed me. They should have made me a junkie and a prison inmate and made me drop out and just give up on life. And I didn't. And instead of allowing those things to destroy me, they didn't. That means there's great purpose and meaning in all of this. What did it do to me? It made me very compassionate for people. I know what it's like to be alone. I know what it's like to be judged. I know what it's like to have someone come into a situation and condemn you when they truly have no clue what's going on. The other day, they're talking about how, at this meeting I was at, about how a kid had beat up their parent, and all these people are like, I would never. And you're like, you know what? You don't know. You don't know the other side of that. You don't know what's going on and what that's like. All you're sitting there and doing is judging and condemning because you literally have no clue. I do. I know what it's like. Evelyn hasn't hit me, but boy, she's had some fits of rage and deep in her pain. And we loved her so much, and we were helpless as to what to do. It easily could have gone that way. Easily. It doesn't make you a bad parent. And so what? Your kid's got anger issues. That doesn't mean you're a bad parent. People look at situations as the surface. And really what they need to do is look to God. Look to the deeper parts, the intricacies, the complexities of the whole situation. There's so much to learn. Even roots of a spider plant, think about it. They're all wound up, and some of them are big, and some of them are small, and they're all wound together. And all of them are there to build life. The little tiny roots and the big, huge ones. And we can't just look at the top of a spider plant and say, oh, okay. Until you really can appreciate a spider plant, you got to pull out the other half of it. And I think when we look at a situation and we just judge what we see, we're missing the point of what God's put us here for. It's so much deeper. There's so much meaning and power in everything that we do. So that's just kind of like a little milestone that I've come to. I went back down into another deep, dark valley after I found out that there's life after trauma. I didn't think I would, and it's been very hard, very lonely. But it's okay, because it felt really good for 2 weeks to not have that pain. And the pain isn't intimate like it was before, but it's still there. It hurts, but not, the wound isn't as bad. And I think it's because I truly believe that my daughter's going to be okay, that she's changed, but not dead. She's not dismembered and unable to function. No, she's got a different story than what we had originally planned. But that doesn't mean that her life is over. Just different. And when I saw that, then I got hope. I had to look at the situation in a whole different way. And to see how difficult this is. There's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of things that happen because of it. And when they come up, it's going to hurt. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you got to go through the process, because it takes a long time, and you can't push it. You can't hurry it, because it won't make any difference. It's a painful, long process as you learn about a whole new level of yourself, of the world, of people. pretty crazy stuff. Would I go through this journey again? No, I would never, ever want to go through this again. But I know now that it's a journey that many people have to go down. You don't choose it. It's not your fault. And you can survive. There's a whole nother world out there after you've gone through some pretty awful traumatic things where you're stronger and you're more confident and you know who you are. But boy, it sure takes a lot of time. And it's a choice because you have to continue to put your steps in. It really has nothing to do with you, but about and your strength. It has to do with just continuing. I always thought for so long that this was all because I was so strong and so dedicated. No, I got a fighting spirit, but that fell away too. Holding on and just allowing God to work, even when I couldn't fight. My prayers were pretty weak and pathetic. I just kept going, hoping and praying in just a tiny little corner of my life that he would still be faithful when I literally had nothing. It's pretty powerful stuff.